Hey Spuds, it's Jamie. Welcome back to another video if that's on our channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here. And today, this video is about transphobes. Well, is it? It's about asking the question of, are the transphobes okay? We all know the answer. It's no. But we do these videos anyway to break down some transphobia, have a discussion, education through entertainment. Oh yes, I hope you're going to enjoy it. I really do try not to take them too seriously or to heart. Most of it is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm here to discuss it, break it down, respond to it, and have a chat. I know not everybody likes these types of videos, and I'm sorry, there will always be a positive one coming up in the near future, and I completely respect if you need to pop off of this one. But yeah, let's get on with looking at the transphobes and what they have to say now. Oh yes. Stop the pronoun bull poop. Stop it. Stop it now. Just stop with all pronouns. They've even done a little dash instead of an I. I mean, I will blur the whole thing out apart from the bull. I'm sure you can guess what the second part of bull poop is meant to be, but they have also censored it slightly by not including the I. How wonderful for them. We know that the transphobes care so deeply about protecting children. Maybe that's why they didn't want to swear in public in front of some children. Anyway, very fascinating because, like, yes, stop the pronoun stuff. Does that mean nobody has pronouns? Nobody gets pronouns. Pronouns for nobody.
The transes ruined pronouns.
I mean, how ridiculous. Pronouns are not just he, she, they. All of this stuff is also like you, we, I. Go on, transphobes. Cut all pronouns out of your vocab. I'd love to see it. Actual woman who doesn't identify as one. I don't have to because I actually am one. I give not one f about your preferred pronouns. Then the three hearts, which is like the suffragette colors, but TERFs have adopted it and it's really bizarre. Material / reality. I don't know what that means. Let's break this one down. So actual woman who doesn't identify as one. I don't have to because I actually am one. You're really trying to convince people.
I'm an actual woman.
I actually am one. I am actually a woman. I am an actually woman, actually. Thank you. I give not one FF about your preferred pronouns. You literally can give 0 flying fudgesicles about preferred pronouns, but people will probably call you out for being disrespectful. It's up to you. Oat milk is not in the Bible. Video games are not in the Bible. Tofu is not in the Bible. Gender pronouns are not in the Bible. Electric vehicles are not in the Bible. If these things were so good for humanity, why didn't God give them his endorsement in the scripture? As if times never change. We should all go back to putting lead in makeup because that was apparently okay a couple hundred years ago. Everybody thought that was fashionable and there's nothing wrong with that. Build with asbestos, okay. Things change. We realize that some things are better than others. We realize that some things are not so good for us, are dangerous. We recognize that language evolves. Look at the writing in Shakespeare. It's obviously not a completely different language, but there are so many words in there that either aren't used anymore or have different meanings and are used in very different contexts and ways nowadays as compared to when Shakespeare wrote his plays, right? I love that this person was like, ah yes, electric vehicles, the things that have only been invented. Electric vehicles and video games, things that have only been around for a couple to a few decades. Why were they not in this 2,000-year-old book?
Where are they in the Bible?
Oat milk? Tofu. I mean, I agree, oat milk and tofu really should have been in the Bible. But gender pronouns are you telling me that the Bible never uses the word they, the word he, the word she, her, his, him? Really? That's not in the Bible? I've not really read the Bible, but I'm pretty sure it's in the Bible. I don't have my phone to check. I do have my phone to check. Hold on. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. And he answered me. There is. And also this person used, I know, like, it's the whole his with a capital H for God, but it's still a gendered pronoun. Do not ever refer to my Lord Jesus Christ with pronouns. Again, I'm pretty sure even the Bible uses specifically gendered pronouns as well for Lord Jesus Christ. But yes, the little my is circled because my is a pronoun. How wonderful. Really, really not doing okay. Okay, so this one, I do not like giving a platform or like shouting out transphobes in any way. So I will be blurring people's names and photographs and things like that. So I will explain a little bit about this. So somebody who's reasonably well known, they're verified on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, said, finally got to meet this legendary adult human female at a hashtag hashtag Let Women Speak rally at Hyde Park in London. Blech. Thank you, then they added the legendary adult human female, the transphobe, for all you have done and continue to do to defend women's sex-based rights and push back against the devastating harms of radical gender ideology. Devastating.
The devastating harms of the transgenders.
Somebody quote retweeted this, calling out the person who did the original tweet, going, defending women's sex-based rights? Are you effing kidding me? Vomit face, name of person who did the tweet underneath, has been campaigning against women's abortions rights for at least half a decade with various far-right Christian orgs such as Family First NZ, Australian Christian Lobby, and Women's Forum Australia. There is so much hypocrisy among bigots. Seriously, with transphobes being a prime example on this, and this being a great example of exactly what I'm talking about, which is why I'm bringing it up, so I don't know why I'm over-explaining. But it's all this, I'm here to protect women's rights.
I just want to protect women, blah, blah, blah. That's why I'm transphobic, it excuses me.
But then turning around and teaming up with anti-abortionists and far-right groups that literally do not respect women or women's rights or women's bodies or women's autonomy or anything to do with women at all. And transphobes are like, yeah, women's rights, I'm gonna go team up with these people that absolutely hate women. Huh? It's confusing until you realize that they don't actually care. It's just because it's a good disguise for their transphobia. It's a way to legitimize their bigotry and spread it to other people who are maybe not aware of the transphobic undertones and genuinely think that they're doing something to support women and protect women's rights. But yeah, they're not. Transphobes are not protecting anybody's rights. Scientific American tweeted, the notion that men evolved to hunt and women to tend children and domestic duties is one of anthropology's most influential ideas, but the available data does not support it. There's new evidence that supports that it was not this clear cut, like
Man hunt, woman cook type vibe.
And then another well-known transphobe who's also written a book to highlight the transphobia, again I will cover their name though, said, it's so very sad to see once great institutions flush their credibility down the toilet. This specific interaction has nothing to do with trans people, as far as I can see, but she is one of the transphobic people that very much comes from the angle of like, I'm protecting women. This is a problem for women's rights. They are being hindered upon by the trans activists. And then there's literally like a scientific association saying, hey, I think that we've been getting it wrong. I don't think that women were just doing domestic duties and men just doing the hunting. There was a combination. Like, what is so bad about that? Why does she have a problem with this? That's almost like being like, no, women do belong in the kitchen. No, they do. They do. Get rid of this phony science saying suddenly that they don't, because they do. Men go out and do the hunting and the women stay at home. And like, there's nothing wrong with that split if that's what people want to do, but it's all about choice. You don't have to do specific things just because of your gender, just because of your assigned sex, just because of anything. There should be a choice in it. And like, this transphobe is just angry, apparently. So Dylan Mulvaney won Attitude's Woman of the Year. Great. I think Dylan seems lovely. I've not met her in person. She gets a lot of crap for just being herself, and I don't understand the level of crap she gets. Like, transphobes really go hard in on Dylan and it's not fair. And she won Woman of the Year. Fantastic. I love seeing that places are recognizing trans women as not just like trans women, but women, and like involving them in these things. As someone tweeted, a man who openly mocks women has won Attitude's Woman of the Year. Is this some kind of sick joke? They didn't use the right one. I'm almost offended by like the lack of effort. A man who openly mocks women has what won all Attitude? What? I don't know. No, it's not a sick joke because Dylan is a woman and has won an award, Woman of the Year, because whoever is on the judging panel or whatever, I don't know how it's decided, has picked Dylan, a woman, as Woman of the Year. Not a joke. As a same-sex attracted person, these are the people I am expected to be in a community with. And then I recognize a few people in the images. So we have Dylan, we have another trans woman, yeah, like LGBT plus people, India Willoughby, a non-binary person. Like, we have a bunch of different people who are probably what you would say like liberal LGBT plus people, left wing. Problem is, these are the people I want to be in a community with. Say no to forced teaming. I mean, nobody's forcing you to team up. There's like an LGBT community, but if you want to like reject yourself from that, then that's your decision. Yes. And And then in there, I know for certain, I'm going to cover their faces because some of them are quite well known transphobic people who are very vocal and have caused a lot of damage. But as far as I'm concerned, at least half, if not most, if not all of these people are cis and straight. Okay, sure, you want to align yourself with bigots who are hating on trans people at the minute because trans people are the easiest community to hate on. I guarantee you, at least some of them, if not most of them, potentially all of them, you scratch under that surface of the transphobia, you will find homophobia as well. It doesn't stop with transphobia for a lot of people. It's just a starting point. So some of these people here have literally said things openly that are homophobic. Sure, because you're so transphobic and you want to then align yourself as a gay person with just outright bigots who are accepting you for now because you are outwardly transphobic, but as soon as that attention shifts and they're not just being openly transphobic but they're being openly homophobic, where do you think that leaves you? If being a transphobic butthole is that important to you, go for it. Enjoy. My twin sister came to visit, so I passively aggressively dressed in TERF colours. Yes, to annoy them. I mean, those are the suffragette colours, not the TERF colours. TERFs have just decided that they're so amazingly important that they deserve to adopt suffragette colours. I don't understand why. And oh god, if I had a family member like that, I know it's easier said than done. I'm just talking about this from my personal perspective. I'm not judging this person's twin, but if they were my twin or my sibling or family or whatever kind of relation, or I knew them in some, I would have nothing to do with them. Like being deliberately antagonistic because you're transphobic. I don't know if their twin is trans or an ally or whatever, but regardless, this is just not being a very nice person, this kind of behavior. I would have absolutely nothing to do with them. The story that's coming out from a lot of people who are so vehemently hateful is that they are losing their networks. In many ways, that's actually a very bad thing, generally, not just for them personally. It's really sad to see that people get so lost in their own hatred that they lose all of their loved ones around them and they don't even realize why. Probably until it's too late, maybe never. But unfortunately, that pushes them further into this like rabbit hole of hate because they then find people who agree with them and affirm them and are like, yeah, your family, your friends, blah, 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 were wrong to abandon you for these views. There's nothing wrong with what you're seeing, and they get, you know, reinvigorated in their viewpoint, and it probably strengthens for a lot of people. I couldn't have, like, even if I thought that could be a consequence, I couldn't have anything to do with somebody who is just so like deliberately trying to wind me up and hurt my feelings. A baby who refuses to say his gender, a merman with mastectomy scars, and everybody is a rainbow picture book. Fury over the dozens, I mean, aren't there like thousands of children's books? Fury over the dozens of books with transgender themes aimed at young children and being promoted by publishers and booksellers. I freaking love that there's so many inclusive books now. And I also kind of love how mad it makes some people. Kids are gonna learn about this stuff. It is an unstoppable force, and transphobia is not an immovable object. It will get like battered by the force. I'm not saying that in a violent way, like just a metaphorical way. The concept of transphobia cannot withstand forever the absolute force of allyship and representation and love that is coming from and for the trans community. Transphobia is just, I don't think it'll ever be gone because we still have like issues with lots of other types of bigotry, but it will absolutely not be as loud and as hurtful and painful and frustrating as it is right now forever. It will calm down. So carry on being mad because it doesn't stop this kind of stuff from happening. It doesn't stop these books from getting published. They're still out there. Yay. Today at work, I learned of the death of a colleague. I retreated to the toilets to cry and was joined by other women as we hugged and mourned and remembered a wonderful person. Imagine if our grief had been interrupted by an entitled man with a sexual fetish. Hashtag trans women are con men. And they've even drawn a little cartoon. I just can't believe she's dead somewhere in the women's toilets. And then a thought bubble comes into the mind of the person doing the consoling, imagining a trans woman coming into the bathroom, and they get angry. So even in the cartoon, they drew it as an imaginary situation. That's like inception of imagination. You're drawing an imaginary situation within an imaginary situation. No? Or did this really happen? Because if the first one really happened, well, you're not making that bit up. Your thought in this moment of mourning somebody and rallying together as a group of people who've lost somebody you all know was, I can't forget to be transphobic in this moment. How can I be transphobic? Yes. What if a trans woman dared to come and try and console people as well? This is nearly as absolutely bananas as a fake snake bite anti-venom story I read recently. If you watched the video, leave a comment below, because that was something else, wasn't it? Trans women are con men. It's just the lengths that people have to go to create these scenarios to try and justify their bigotry, to try and highlight their bigotry, to try and push down trans people, particularly trans women, is absolutely, like, I wouldn't believe it if you told me it was happening. Like, if 10 years ago you said this kind of stuff would be happening, I'd be like, no, that is ridiculous. Why would anybody do that? That is such bizarre behavior. But it's happening. And it is very bizarre. Pastor Greg Locke purchases a Barbie dream house, wraps Bibles around a baseball bat barrel, and whacks it down. And people wonder why people are abandoning religion in droves. So was the idea of wrapping the Bibles around the baseball bat that he was hitting the Barbie dream house with the Bible? Or was he hitting the Bible with the Barbie dream house? Congratulations for wasting your own money. You bought a Barbie dream. I mean, those things aren't cheap. So you bought one just to destroy it, because why? Because a trans woman was cast in Barbie, and it is a very liberal kind of movie with very, like, liberal tones to it. It did make a lot of people very angry. Clearly, this guy really needed to vent some frustrations. What is a cis woman that a woman is not? Hashtag no cis. No cis. A cis woman? What are they? No trans activist can answer this question. I think we know why. And then a trans woman replied to that going, literally every trans activist on earth answers this every single day, you absolute clown. If you don't understand what a cis woman is specifically, no wonder you're so hateful. You just don't understand. Do I dignify that with a definition? I mean, cis is a prefix that means on the same side as. So cis woman is a woman who is both assigned female at birth and identifies as a woman. So gender and assigned sex are the same thing in terms of being a woman. Yay, cis woman. A trans woman, where trans means on the other side of, trans woman is a woman who is assigned male at birth but is a woman, whose gender and sex are separate, still a woman. And if they're like, no, you define women by their ability to have babies, then that's very derogatory of you. Outed myself as a giant TERF recently. A giant TERF. I have a vibe. This may be a joke, but I can never tell, because there are some things that are real that are not a joke, but you really would think they are. I was at a bar with a friend, F, who I hadn't seen in several years, and her boyfriend came along. I'd only met him briefly years ago. I didn't know much about him. He seemed like a pretty chill guy. I felt like Moira Rose. As the night went on, he started talking about a former British philosophy professor. I obviously knew this was, but I'm gonna beep the name, even though he didn't name her, and how unhinged her views were. I don't remember the specifics of what he said, but it was clearly a pretty uncharitable interpretation of her. The subject changed pretty quickly. How can you have a charitable interpretation of someone who is incredibly uncharitable about a marginalized group in society? I'm not gonna have a charitable view of somebody like that, who causes harm and hurt for no reason, just because they're bigoted. Later in the evening, I turned to him and said, by the way, I'm a giant TERF and I love... Are you serious? I mean, did this really happen? So far, I'm feeling like maybe this person, the first bit happened, but then they didn't actually say that to him. The look on his face was priceless. I said it was pretty presumptuous of him to assume that I would agree with him. We agree that it would be interested to have a civilized discussion on our views at a later time. He has not responded to my text message ever since, so I imagine this is off the table. I mean, if you disagree with somebody and there's a way to go about it, this wasn't the worst response, but it would be a case of like, in the moment, if you felt comfortable, being like, oh, actually, I disagree with you on that. Let's break it down. Let's have a chat. Not just being like, by the way, I'm a giant TERF. Love. I love transphobes. Yeah. Like, that's so bizarre. I wouldn't want to talk to you after that. I'm just like, no, no, thank you. I actually found his Twitter account and he spends a lot of time tweeting about how TERFs are evil, cruel, and full of hate. Where's the lie? This is an issue he seems deeply invested in. He is completely incapable of considering that we don't hold hate towards anyone. Rather, we are concerned for the safety and well-being of girls, women, and children. Really? I would love to actually see some evidence of this concern away from the trans community, and then specifically how they think the trans community impacts the safety and well-being of girls, women, and children. Like, legit, I would actually like to see some evidence. Well, there is no evidence. So I'm saying I'd like to see it. I know it doesn't exist. I'd like to see them try and come up with some. Because this is why we end up with the most ridiculous scenarios, like snake bites and anti-venom and mourning a death in the toilets. Because they don't have anything legitimate to stand on. I have absolutely no regrets. I don't give a f*** anymore. The TRA view is so blatantly wrong and ridiculous. Plus, most people agree with us, but only women get branded as TERFs. Actually, one of like the most well-known TERFs in the UK is a cis man. There's quite a lot. There's multiple others that I can think of as well off the top of my head. Not going to name them because they don't deserve a platform. I can see why he wouldn't have wanted to open up a conversation after this though, because like just the attitude expressed in this of like, I don't give a f anymore. TRA view is so blatantly wrong and ridiculous. It's like, were you even prepared to listen? Would you have even had a civilized conversation about this? Somebody's there going like, this is what's wrong. This is why it's hurtful. And you're like, no, 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 I don't believe you. I'm not listening. I would prefer to listen to the bullshit lies. Sorry, I'm getting a bit irate in this video. I'm gonna hide the account this came from. Basically, this is a tweet that says, feels like a good day to fly the hashtag trans widows flag. And there's the flag. Trans widows, if you don't know what trans widows means or who trans widows are, I'm very happy for you. I'm about to ruin it. Basically, trans widows are the partners of trans women where the relationship has broken down due to the transition, and they refer to themselves as trans widows because they're no longer in a relationship because their partner transitioned. Anybody I've ever seen use this term has been deeply transphobic, and that's a big reason why the relationship broke down, because it's not even an amicable, okay, the parameters of this have changed, it's not something I personally am interested in, but it can be amicable. It's a full-on like transphobic hate, like we are not together anymore type situation, and then they have the audacity to refer to themselves as widows, which just feels rude to people who have actually lost their partners. Anyway, they replied to their own tweet going, confusion on my timeline from TRAs about the symbolism of this. It's purple for our activism, vanilla for our sexuality. This is a joke. Oh, this must be a joke. Vanilla food is like a off-white color, but vanilla itself is not. Why not just say beige? Because beige is also like, if that's the vibe they were going for, beige would have worked. Vanilla was a bizarre choice. And red for you. The frilly knickers motif I thought spoke for itself, but for the hard of thinking represents the cross-dresser we left. Young people have zero sense of humor. I feel like this must have been a joke. It does look like a legit Twitter account. I'm assuming just the flag bit is a joke, but like, yeah, hilarious joke. Hilarious joke, because we all know that transphobia is the epitome of humor. Transphobia? Oh, you mean the natural immune system reaction that used to keep degenerates in check in society? My immune system is transphobic. I sneeze whenever a trans person is near. Is that how they always know? I knew it. I knew there was a reason. If you're a woman in the UK, you might come face to face with these three Tims. Very derogatory term. I mean, if TERFs hate TERF, which is not derogatory because it actually gives them more credit than they deserve in the sense of it includes the word feminist when they are not feminists. But they get offended by TERFs and then they go around calling trans women trans-identified males. And that is just appalling, disgusting behaviour. If you're a woman in the UK, you might come face to face with these three trans women in the women's bathrooms of your shopping mall. They go shopping in group now. Imagine being the only woman in the bathroom with them. They go shopping in group now. The transgenders have grouped together, just like we have. Oh my goodness, we are in danger. No, you're not, Karen. You have created a fake situation. I'm sorry, I don't know why I called them a Karen. They just seem like they are. You've created a fake sense of danger for yourself because of transphobia and because of transphobic lies. You are ignoring the actual problem, which is predatory men. Trans women are not predatory men, and actually trans women are also at risk of the same kind of violence that cis women face. Trans women and cis women are all women, just like short women and tall women are all women. There's just different adjectives that can be used in certain contexts when it's relevant to differentiate. But all women. And I think it's very rude to call trans women TIMs. That's just inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate, okay? I do think it's a very heartless and cruel attitude to have towards trans people, particularly this attitude that a lot of transphobes have towards trans women. It's completely disregarding a whole group of people's lives, safety, well-being, everything, just because of bigotry. There's no legitimizing it. You can't legitimize hate. And it is exhausting. It's unfair. And I think things will get better soon, but I feel like we're in that. You know when people are saying that it needs to get worse before it gets better? We're in the worst bit right now. Dear trans women, you have so much power right now. If only you'd stand up and say, me using a woman's bathroom isn't worth the risk that poses to women and girls, so I won't do that. What the heck? Then you'd see immediate action from feminists to protect you in male spaces. I have faith in you. To me, this comes across as like knowingly requesting that trans women put themselves in harm's way. You are admitting that using the men's bathroom would not be a very safe option for trans women. And so you're saying, we'll protect you in the men's room. How? That just sounds so empty. It's just transphobia. It's just, get out. We don't care about you. I feel threatened for some imaginary reason that isn't real, that has no basis in reality, but just utter bullshit. No. Today I accompanied a female friend to the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne for a minor but very intimate procedure. We were confronted by this. What were they confronted with? Oh my, they sound very scared. It must have been something very scary. Shall we have a look? They were confronted with a poster saying all genders, identities, expressions, pronouns welcome here. Wow, inclusivity, that terrifying thing that pops out at Halloween. My next Halloween costume might be inclusivity. Wow. What man can ever understand the humiliation and helplessness of having your legs constrained in stirrups? Someone replied going, I get it. You're upset that the bin wasn't big enough for you to get in. Brilliant. So tonight, Madonna wore a Progress Pride flag at her concert in London. The homophobic flag used by trans activists represents the erasure of same-sex attraction, destruction of women's rights, and the indoctrination and mutilation of children. Hashtag Madonna. That's what they decided to hashtag it. Wow. So like they've gone so far as to say the progress flag is now a homophobic flag. An LGBTQ plus flag is now homophobic because it includes trans people. Wow. And how powerful do they think that trans people are? They think that trans people have the ability to erase same-sex attraction, destroy women's rights, and indoctrinate and mutilate children. Where? When? How? Who is this happening to? Transphobia is really turning into a conspiracy theory. I don't know where this is coming from. So the erasure of same-sex attraction. Are trans people now going, well, if you're a cis man attracted to other cis men, you're not actually gay. I erase this as an attraction. It does not exist. What they're saying is we don't accept that a gay cis man with a trans man, we don't accept that he is still gay. But you're saying he is. And then we think that a cis man with a trans woman can't possibly be straight. It's because they don't respect trans people as their gender. And they also have some weird belief that trans people want to force transphobes to date us. No trans person wants to date a transphobe. Stay away, please. Very, very far away. You don't want to date a trans person, fine. The thing that gets called out is unnecessary transphobia and just disgusting language used when stating a want to not date a trans person. Just being like, no, sorry, not for me. Fine. But then like misgendering or using derogatory slurs or derogatory terms, that is what's called out as being transphobic. Destruction of women's rights. Like, again, how? Like, give me examples of how this is happening, please, because I've not seen any. And the indoctrination and mutilation of children. Indoctrination, how? Mutilation, where's your energy like that for circumcision? Because that's something that is actually done to children without even their knowledge, because they're so young. And to a lot, there is zero energy from transphobes about that. And into like surgeries and anything medical transition wise that's not reversible is not done on children. Sometimes minors, as in 16, 17, can access these things, but it's very uncommon and they're not literal children at that age. So good try, but no thank you. Anonymous member posted this. Something happened to me today and I don't really know what to do about it. So I was in the bathroom when someone who is a TIFF. No, do not call trans men TIFFs. Do not call trans women Tims. What the heck? When someone who is a trans man came into the bathroom, I asked them to please leave and they said that they were born with 2 X chromosomes. They said they were instructed to use the ladies' restroom because they were born a woman but transitioned later in life or something. This is literally the reality that transphobes want. This is what they are pushing for, and now someone's complaining about it. But I swear to God, this person looks so weird. Like, they look super masculine. They even have a beard and everything. I talked with the upper management, but they said that that's where they have to pee because they were born a woman and are still marked as a woman on their birth certificate. Now I feel uncomfortable. What should I do? Oh, do you feel uncomfortable because transphobia forced an actual man into the woman's toilets? Has that made you uncomfortable? This is what transphobes asked for. By the way, this is what they look like, but they looked something kind of like this. I assume they mean this is not what they look like because they've posted a photo of a trans man underneath. I'm showing you this picture so you get an idea of what I was looking at. Ugh. Didn't look like a girl at all anymore. I don't know what to do. We both work together. Take it up with the transphobic committee because they're the ones that did this. If you are someone who is anti-trans, or not comfortable with trans people, or thinks that trans women should use men's restrooms, but you would not be comfortable with a trans man in the women's, then take a really good think about what your opinion actually means. Either way, you are doing something bad. Either way, it's shitty, right? If you're sitting there going,
Yes, I'm a transphobe and I think that trans women are men that should use the men's restroom and trans men are women that should use the women's restroom.
this is the situation you have caused. You are the ones who are meaning that men, actual men, are going into the women's restroom, causing clearly discomfort all around, and putting actual women in harm's way by forcing trans women into the men's room. So you've got that one. But then what I've had some transphobes saying is, oh no, that is the opinion I have. You know, I'm a transphobe and I think that trans women are men and trans men are women, but I don't think that trans men who have transitioned should use the women's. They should still use the men's because I don't want them in my restroom. And then that becomes a whole big discussion over, well, are you then in your brain? I mean, trans men are men, we all know that here. But does that mean in your brain that even like a very masculine presenting cis woman should use the men's toilets? So therefore you don't actually care about women, and it's not even that you only care about cis women, you care about women who conform to your exact idea of what a woman is. And any woman that doesn't, nah, you're too masculine, nah, out, men's room, bye, don't care if it's dangerous, go. It's just horrendous. That's why trans men often get left out of many TERF and transphobic arguments, because there's so much like vile hatred towards trans women and so much trying to push trans women out of women's spaces. As soon as you bring trans men into it, transphobes either look like absolute hypocrites, which they are, by saying that actually, even though they view trans men as women, they think that type of woman should be in the men's room because, and therefore they're throwing people that they view as women under the bus. Or they think that trans men should use the women's restroom, which is actually pushing men, actual men, into the women's spaces. And so they often ignore trans men because they don't have anything to say. So that's how I'm going to end this video. Woo. I feel like I've aged making that. My God. That was a long one, and that was a difficult one. That was a harder one than normal to film, and I'm not sure why. I don't know. There's just something about the flavor of those posts. But I hope that it was a good discussion and that we broke down some transphobia together. I appreciate you sticking through this with me. I think it's really important to call out this kind of behavior and call out these lies and just the horribleness that it is transphobic behavior. And yeah, if you like the video, think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, but absolutely no pressure. And I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.